Hi, I'm Ron Jess for Jessfor30, and as usual, just another good guest. This young man I've known since he was early in high school, him and his family, and he's now a fantastic hockey coach, maybe the best high school hockey coach in Michigan right now. He runs the Hartland Hockey program, and happy to have Rick Gadwa.
Hey, Ron. Happy to be here.
Good. It's going to be fun. What about that tooth that's missing?
There we go. Yeah, right off the hop, eh?
I said we were going to mix it up.
I lost it
Yeah.
years ago. And at different times in my life, I've had one sticking in there. I've had flippers throughout my toothless career, but yeah, I kept losing them, Ron. So I just never had the surgery, and I like to go without one now.
I had a black tooth right here through high school, and my buddies would all be drawing pictures. You know, I played baseball and football quarterback, and I was an athlete, and plus we had a good time. We also did, but my buddies would always slip me notes with a picture they draw with a black tooth right in the front. Smart asses.
Yeah, it's all good fun.
Yeah. So tell me about your mom and dad growing up in Hartland, Brighton, let's call it.
Yeah.
Howell.
Brighton, Hartland, Howell, but Hartland, really, right? We're. It's funny. You just look at even the school districts. I battle this in coaching. Other coaches will look at our roster and they'll be like, "Hey, this kid's from Howell. These ones are from Brighton." I'm like, "No, it's the Hartland School District." They think we're recruiting kids from all over the. From the other schools, but reality is Hartland's this small little village, and our school district reaches all those towns you just said. So, but yeah, growing up in Hartland, / Brighton / Howell, Livingston County, unbelievable place to grow up. And
Livingston County is big, and it's school of choice, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're looking at on the athletic side of things, the programs self-promote themselves. Now, as a kid's gonna, the one thing we've had in our area through all the schools, Hartland, Brighton, Howell, is academics have been great, but you see a lot of successful athletic programs. Well, I'm in the firm belief athletics, they're a big part of your community and your school. So when you couple that with the great academics and the athletic side, you're just going to get people to come to you. So a lot of times that's what happens. The same with CC.
Cheney used to get that when he was a wrestling coach. Fenton kids would come, and when Hartland really had I don't know how the wrestling is anymore, but Cheney had a big run, won some state championships.
Yep. Well, their sports at Hartland, it's rich right now. Just yesterday, the Hartland lacrosse team upset Brother Rice for the second time. It's actually the first time Brother Rice has ever lost in a semifinal in lacrosse.
Wow.
So Hartland's in the state championship game. I have one of our hockey players he's actually a D1 committed lacrosse player. Great hockey player as well. But so he'll be playing in a state championship here at the University of Michigan coming up soon. But look at lacrosse. It's another sport just out of the woodworks. All of a sudden, almost it's a state power essentially. They've won a state championship just a couple years ago. So it's pretty cool.
That's really awesome. Pretty sure, it's rare today that kids grow up skating on a pond in your backyard. And you had a pretty big pond, almost a mini lake in the backyard at Shenandoah there. And, you're the Hartland varsity coach. And what's it like to coach in the town you grew up in?
When I first got the job, I remember interviewing for it. I felt like I was going for my dream job. And the irony in that is, everyone knows if you're going to coach high school sports, then you're not in it for the money. It's not a job or a career when it comes to that. But it was my anything and everything, and it still is today. So what it means to me, it means the most. It was something I've always been super passionate about and wanted to do. I remember practicing at Hartland, playing for the Hartland High School Hockey team, and talking to good friends of mine, on the ice about wanting to come back and coach this team one day. And then, ironically enough, it happened way later on, and we've done a great job of building a great program. So
And you get to wear the maize and blue. Like, it doesn't get much better than that, does
no,
it?
when you're a Michigan fan, it's pretty nice when the stuff you do.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the helmets. We do it all. We model U of M. So
Might as well.
Might
you
as
know.
well.
There-
We like state though too. I'm
No.
one of those. I know. I'm one of those split in half guys.
Yeah, that's not my thing. But if you like them, a lot of people do, and it is Michigan. You're one or the other. But you had Tom McCarty, your assistant. Everybody loves Tom, and he's a great guy. And was he skating on the ponds with you out there when you were a kid, or?
We'd all make it out there at different times. Yes, there's times when we were all out there. It's funny you mentioned Tom McCarthy's he's an awesome guy, and he's been with me from the beginning. We've been coaching Hartland 13 years together. We've had great coaches all together come through. But specific to that, yeah, we grew up in the same bubble. Our houses are.
Yeah.
We got a nice pond down there. Well, one of our neighbors, and I'm going to mention a name, was Jacob Banke. He ended up playing for Tom and I at Hartland. He's one of the best players we've ever had. I remember even Tom out there on the ice and Banke and his dad Brian out there on that ice. And I'm watching him. I'm a kid watching this younger kid, skate out there, and he's wheeling around. He's a stud. I'm like, this kid's a stud. So many years forward, he ended up coaching him, and he's taken us to state championship games and things like that. So it's pretty cool to see down the road what it came out of just watching a kid skate on the pond.
Well, you don't have a lot of kids learning to skate on ponds like that, do you? Or there's still some in Heartland that
Learn to
come
skate?
through?
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's hockey itself. Even from then till now, it's just there's a rink in Heartland. That wasn't always the case. Kids are growing up. Yeah, they'll skate on the pond for fun. A lot of backyard rinks, and things like that. We have a lot of families that put rinks up in the winter, but the weather has to cooperate. But they grow up in the rinks. They're in the rink. Those families, it becomes part of them. They're in the rink, all the time. So
Sudbay's had one next to us,
Yeah. Trevor's another one. He played for me.
Yeah.
He had a bomb. Kid could shoot the puck 100 miles an hour.
He was a tough kid.
I just ran into him. This is pretty cool. I go to Majestic to golf this first year. I'm golfing in this new golf, or it's a new golf league for me, but the league's been around forever. But I wanted to get closer to home because I had been golfing out of town in league, so I wanted to get closer to home. Well, long story short, I see Sudbay sitting in there, and I look around.
Steve?
No, Trevor.
Yeah.
Kid that played for me, and 15 other Hartland alumni that I coached, which is really, really cool. And I'm sitting here, and these guys don't want to hear it. They're young enough, but I'm like, you guys don't understand how cool this is. This is years later after they've graduated. I think maybe, I forget the year, but this is like 2012. Maybe they were playing for me.
Yeah.
Now it's 2024, and 12 plus years later, whatever it is, my math's not great. They're playing golf together, like all of them, and to see them together and still doing it and being the best of friends, it's part of what it's all about. So,
well, I don't want to embarrass you on this one, but I'm gonna
okay.
throw it out.
I can handle it.
You can handle it, and it shouldn't be an embarrassment. It's really a badge of honor. I learned about your honesty and character 25 years ago. I was coaching the Dick Scott Dodgers. My son was on the team. Sean Horbeck, Woodside, Sattler, all these Heartland kids that were great ball players. So up comes me early before one of the first practices, and I told all you guys we were going to keep about 12 guys, 13 maybe, and you had to show up. And so I said, Rick, what do you think? We need you. If you're going to commit, you're going to play for us, because we had a kind of an all-star team from Livingston County. We had Pinckney, Hartland, Howell. Brighton's guys were too special for us. None of them would play for us, which was fine. We beat them anyway. We play them in the summer.
It's still that way.
Yeah,
it's the beauty of the rivalry.
But you told me that, I said, Rick, you're either going to play, you'll be our shortstop, or you're not going to be. And you said hockey's number one. And baseball's number two, and I shook your hand and I wished you the best and said you can come and sub if you wanted.
Yep.
which I think you might have, or you didn't.
Yeah.
Did you a few times?
I think there was a couple games.
Yeah.
I love baseball. I really, there's things that I learned in baseball that I take into coaching hockey to this day. But specific to that, I remember that conversation. It was hard for me. I'm a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels better to just be upfront and honest about it. And
I get chills thinking about it because it was really cool for a young guy. I left that talking to you, went home and told my wife, and I told my kids, I said, that's how you be. This kid is young. He's 16 or so, whatever. And he was straight up about it. You weren't trying to play games or anything. And I'm sure that's what takes you through today. You're honest with people. And integrity.
That scenario alone, like I said, you remember certain things when you're growing up. And again, it's a tough conversation to have with the coach. But I know, you know what I saw, Ron, in the 16-year-old kid, is I saw you, you're so passionate about it. And so I felt like if I half committed, or, you know, you weren't going to take that anyway, but if I lied to you essentially, and then later on, and you're building something and you wanted to go compete, and this was summer ball, correct?
Yeah.
You know, off season when it comes to hockey, but there's things you would do in the off season, and I wanted to be a hockey player, and there's things you have to commit to on that side of things, and I want nothing more but to play for that team. I remember that.
It was a good team.
It was a great team. We had a ton of talent in on that team and just in our district alone. But it was one of those things where you can't have everything, and that was the best way to go about it.
Well, I won't beat on this one, but I think I mentioned it to Lance Parrish when he was sitting right where you are. I said I remember coaching against Dan Petrie. And he had NFWB, North Farmington, West Bloomfield. And he had a state of Michigan all-star team, and we just had Livingston County. And we lost him. We had him beat in the 7th inning. A ball got under somebody's mitt in the outfield. And so what happens is we were winning 7-6, and we lost like 8-7. And so those were the teams we were able to compete. He had an all-star team from the state. And we shook hands after the game, and he came up, and one of the things he said, he didn't come out at the beginning of the game, but he came out at the end, and we last managers shake hands, and I shook his hand, and he said to me, it was really the greatest compliment. He said, Coach, that was probably the most fun we've had all year. They're playing 100 games. We're playing 35. But we play. When we go, we play.
Yep.
And he said, that was the most fun. He said, you guys played baseball. You played hard. You played, there was nothing but hard baseball. And you guys showed respect and loved the game. You can see the love of that game coming through.
What a great compliment for a coach, obviously, to hear that.
It was.
And you're proud of your kids, but to hear it from Petrie, it's pretty cool because, you watched that guy throw the ball, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
And you know what's funny? I'm going to mention a name, Lamb. Do you remember him?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Lamb, because the kid threw like 100 miles an hour.
Where was he from?
He pitched for him, NFWB.
Oh, okay. Did he?
I don't know his first name. I just remember his last name was Lamb, and he was a beast, and he could throw the ball. And here we go. I'm segueing.
No, that's okay.
But what I was gonna say about
was he from Orchard Lake St. Mary's?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
because we were younger. I think that at that time it was before high school.
Because I took my grandson over. He stopped playing baseball to play lacrosse, which we talked about Hartland being in it, beating Brother Rice twice, but he stopped playing baseball. I took him to Toledo. He was 12 for 12. He was Friday and Saturday. I had him there for 3 games. He's 12 for 12. We get back. One of the head coaches said, "Ron, you want to assist?" I said, "Sure, I'd be glad to assist his team." So we get into it a little, and he told Christy, my oldest daughter.
Yep.
He goes up, Austin Wyatt Slazarzik. He says to her, he goes, "Well, He goes, I know Papa's going to be mad, Mom. Will you tell him that I'd rather play lacrosse? We get to hit in lacrosse. I want to hit. I wrestle. I play football and lacrosse. There's no hitting. I'm bored with baseball. You know how that went over.
Uh-huh. That's always something.
But, it was the way it was,
Dan Petrie, he came up to you. He said, and this is what pros, he's a pro, right? You coached a lot. How many times did you have, nothing against amateur
Summer baseball, yeah.
Nothing against the other coaches and where they came from, but here's a guy, as athletically gifted as he was, he's the one that mentions that to you. It's just something, it's a respect level that a lot of these pros have, and for him to recognize something like that and make sure you knew it, I think that's pretty cool. And you can see why these guys are. You talked to a lot of pros right here in this chair, and you feel it, you can see it, and it's not just athletic talent. It's usually the full picture. It's the full thing, right?
It's loving the game, isn't it?
Yep.
I love baseball, like you, Rick. I just love the game, and I just figured, hey, I'd only coached like Little League baseball. Well, I coached some high school stuff, but when our kids didn't have anywhere to go at 16, 17, 18, it was like, jump in and do it, I mean, maybe they've learned from better coaches. I don't know, but they wouldn't have known from anybody who liked the game more, loved the game, so...
I think that goes a long way.
Yeah. Well, Rick, I mean, this is about you and your hockey success. You've won 3 state championships. Do you have a favorite of the 3?
Of the 3?
Yeah.
I'm going to go out and say it. My favorite team altogether was our worst team we had in my 13 years, first of all. And it's because of some of the things
kind of put you on the spot, right?
It's good. It's it's just some of the things that team accomplished. This has been brought up before. I'd say that the first one's really special, but they're all special and unique in their own ways because, and I tell this to every team we have, even if you have a kid that's been returning, he's about to play his 4th year for you. Let's say he's been with me since he's a freshman. Well, the other 19 guys haven't been there for 4 years. And so every year it's new. It's a new opportunity for a new team to make their mark on, and you're not going to finish every year winning a state championship. Everyone knows that. Only one team gets to win their last game. But that opportunity you have within that year to put your stamp on history and whatever it may be, I think that's special. Of the 3, the first one was great.
I would think. Yeah.
It was huge weight off of us. We've been knocking on the door. It was such a
Livonia Stevenson was that the team that kept biting you guys a little
Stevenson
bit?
got us once. Trenton really got us, and that's the team we ended up beating in the first state championship game. Trenton Hartland just had a great rivalry going. We still do to this day. But more specific to the individuals on that team, it wasn't our most talented team by far, but there was some talent on that team. But it was, honestly, if I can say one word what it was leadership. And that team had great people. And still to this day, some of the people you run into in the community and the way they talk to you, the way the parents still randomly text you years later and say hi. And I'm awful at getting back to people.
I noticed.
I'm going to apologize right now to everybody. And I hate being that guy that says, "Oh, we're busy." But there's a lot of different things we do. I wish I could spend time like this individually with everybody. You just can't. But they all mean a lot to me, and those kids and those families on that team mean a lot to me.
Every year, the state of Michigan MHSAA gives out one award, I think a trophy, and it's for the greatest coach or the most valuable coach in the state of Michigan, and this includes women and men. In 2022, it's the John Harrington Award from the legendary Farmington Hill Harrison football coach. And what was that like? You won it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. You go to that awards thing, and this tells the whole story, right? A coach wins a big award. That's Coach of the Year. It's I think it's across all sports in the state, and it's a huge honor. But that whole ceremony, it's 95% going through student athletes and different awards they've won, and then there's this little part for the coach, and because there's a Coach of the Year award, but that answers it all right there. Any award a coach wins, it's because of his players or her players. You know what I mean? It is the players that win the award for the coach. So number one, thank you. You can't win it without having great kids. And that award was won. That was after I think our third state championship. So they're recognizing some success within a person and a program. But it's all those kids that came through that got the job done who need to get done. That's what wins the awards.
Well, Sparky Anderson used to say that a little bit, and in those those words, he would talk about the Cincinnati Reds when you had Johnny Bench and Ken Griffey Sr. and on and on and on. The talent he had on that team was Perez, and the pitching loaded, and that helped. That does help, but taking nothing away from your coaching though, Rick, that's an amazing thing. And I don't think there's anyone in Livingston County who's won that award be prior or since. Well, it's just 2022, but that's fantastic. Congratulations on that.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Ron.
How does the Hartland team look for this upcoming year?
It's always looking good, right? We're optimistic. We return. We had a lot of juniors last year. We returned quite a bit of players. We're going to lose one or two, to some other things, which is natural. It's just part of it. But we like what we're returning. We like the young talent we've had. I'll mention this right now. We started our JV team kind of graduated up to a varsity B team this past year. And so the goal of that was to get them playing against, more varsity teams if possible. And their schedule had a handful of varsity teams on it. Well, now going into this year, it's going to have a lot more because they've proven it. Well, we did, a little playoff with some of the other schools, CC, Brother Rice, and Orchard Lake St. Mary's, three of the powers in high school hockey, and then there's Hartland in it too. Our varsity B team won the whole thing. So they won the championship. When it comes to that, it was the inaugural year of it. But my whole point is great talent there too that's developing, under our umbrella and then coming up. I mean, we had multiple players off that team end up joining us, towards the end of the season. So it's just a great feeder we have going on there. So with talent coming up, a couple coming in, and then everyone we have returning, we should have a good run at this year.
Well, the whole Jess family loves your younger brother, David, and my wife, Michelle, and kids, Christy, Jeremy, Laura, who you know very well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys grew up in the neighborhood together. You played some ball together. But they loved David, and we did too. He'd love to visit us for dinners. He would come over, and we loved having him because he was kind, he was smart, he was funny, and we just loved having David around. And he was a cool kid, and that was tough, right?
Yeah. We lost David in 2007. But I mean, there's so many great memories, obviously, of him and even what he accomplished in his short life. Things I think about all the time. Honestly, you mentioned your kids, specific to, Laura, obviously, and Jeremy. David was really close with those two. Mm-hmm. And just a lot of times they tell you as a coach, you're not okay, you're not famous or whatever till you're dead. All I'm getting at is, after the fact, we start to have these talks, and I talk to Laura and talk to Jeremy, and you really learn, the impact David had even on them, mm-hmm. And vice versa. But just the great friendships, it's pretty special. It's really special. And those kind of things always, when you talk about that stuff, it always really helped with, the mourning and all that. Now, this many years later, anytime you're bringing, I love talking about him and you know what he did in his life and the positives. So
Yeah, we had fun with him. I mean, to look at the lighter side of it, we did things. I don't know. There was some goofy thing. We got go-karts and we ran around Grand River and we're, shooting and scoring in these bumper cars with him, and we'd play football in the front yard, and we did a lot of stuff with him. But there was a funny story. Your dad and your grandpa all remind me of you and your brother and Calvin I don't know so well, and your sister I don't know, your twin sister. I don't know her as well, but I remember your dad saying that David, he couldn't get him out of bed. And he said that one time that our daughter Laura called at probably a Sunday morning at 6 a.m. And so she calls, your dad answers the phone. He calls down to David and said, "Hey, it's January. Laura's stuck in a ditch." And
boom, he's up.
He's out the door. Your old man's like, "What the hell?
Look at this."
Yeah, look at this. He must like Laura.
Yeah.
But
he loved Laura and your whole family. But that was David right there. Shirt off his back.
Worked for Johnny Green as an apprentice, which is a great contractor in Detroit. I mean, I get business every day still from Johnny Green and Goyette Mechanical and CSM Mechanical, Craig Mortz's company in Fenton. We're Johnny Green, and he was right there. He was right where he probably should have been, for training.
Yep.
I'm sure your dad maybe helped there a little. I don't know. But
yeah, it was family trade. My dad grew up in his dad was a plumber. My dad was a master plumber. He did some big jobs for some big companies, and then that's the path David was down too. And believe me, my dad will tell the stories, the heads he was turning, on the plumbing side of things.
Really?
Yeah, but unfortunate things happen. But at the same time, and we talk about stories after the fact. Random people I've talked to over the years that, "Is David your brother? And let me tell you this story." And it's like, man, the kid's only 20-some years old, and that was it. The impact he had on so many people is pretty cool.
Well, you and I have never had a conversation like this before.
No.
Other than just in passing a little. So all of our shows are dedicated to helping veterans, charities, and foundations. And when I get a coach like you, I call that a bit of charity work. So if there's somebody you would want to reach out or talk about with regard to a foundation or anything,
yes,
go for it.
100%. Ron, a player that played for me at Hartland, not too long ago, actually passed away, and it was a freak cancer, and I won't get into the details of it. He was one of my captains. Early years of coaching, he was a part of building the foundation of what we have even at Hartland right now. And so like he's special to me. Their family's special people. His name was Jessfor30. I don't know if you ever heard the name. I honestly was really good friends with Trevor, with your neighbor Sudbay and McCrae's, and I go down the list.
I know McCrae real well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what a great kid and a great family. Well, like again, he unfortunately had passed away, but in that short time, just last year, they had a golf outing, and they had the Jessfor30 Memorial Golf Outing. Last year was the first one. They're going to do it again second Saturday in September. So it thing sold out last year. Well, you know what they did? They took a lot of the funds, and they created a scholarship for hockey players in Livingston County.
Nice.
And mainly high school hockey players in Livingston County. Josh played high school for Hartland. Several Hartland players were benefits of the scholarship. You have to write an essay, essentially, apply for it, and the family picks recipients to receive this scholarship. Well, it wasn't $500. It was their entire team fees, ice bills paid, and
Nice.
coaching. I'm telling you, it's expensive for one kid. I don't remember the number. Upwards of maybe 10 kids they paid for their entire year of hockey.
Wow.
And honestly, if anyone's watching this, like, and they're involved, like especially Hartland, Howell, Brighton, Milford, high school hockey programs, like, get your kids to write the essay and to apply for this, because it's a great thing. Obviously, it helps, a financial, issue that some parents have in paying for hockey, but it's also carries Josh's name, and like, again, it's just really special. He was a special human being. He still is today, and it's just no better scholarship fund than that for me. So, Josh Ruthig Memorial Scholarship.
I'd like to golf in it. So you have a sister, a twin sister, Renee, and your brother Calvin, and I understand from talking with you, I think we talked about it a month or so ago, that you and Calvin every year go to a Tiger game together.
Oh, it's actually Lions.
Although I thought it was a Tiger game.
No, it is the Detroit Lions, and Calvin and I, he'll probably get mad. I'll forget. I think it's been 13 to 15 years. I mean, after David passed away, and this was something we had talked about before, and David wanted to go to Lions games. Calvin's like the biggest Lions fan in the world. So my brother Calvin, cool, calm, collected, quiet, but you get him at a Lions game, he's a psycho.
Really?
He won't like to hear that, and I'm half kidding. But
No, you're not.
But you know what he is, Ron?
That's all
He's
right.
competitive, like we all are, and we appreciate that. And man, but Cal and I, have been going for years and years. We get season tickets to the Lions. Years ago, we could never even afford it, but we found a way. Now, fortunately, we're a little bit further along in our careers, and we can somewhat afford it. But and those have gone way up. Look at the success of the Lions.
Well, he's got a good job. Calvin's with a company related to Gallagher Kaiser. I know
Yes.
he's purchasing agent. He never buys any of my products. Never buys Streros, him or any of them over there. They're one we don't even call on, to be honest.
Well, we're
with
gonna have to change that. We're gonna make him watch this. Cal's gonna watch this, and then we'll work on that.
Would you please?
Yeah,
You just tell him. Even
absolutely.
Jeremy's not buying from Jeremy. I thought it was me, but my son, he looked up to Jeremy.
He owes him. We'll make sure
He definitely
starts.
owes us. Let's get it together there, Calvin. So you do this for a living now. You're associated with in Michigan. Hockey's it for you now.
Yeah, years ago, you know what I was doing? I was actually working in private investigative work. Awesome job, and awesome as in unique. And when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a cop. I don't know, for some reason, I wanted to be a police officer. I love still to this day, I see
Action.
lights, and I want to follow. But so I was in between work years and years ago, and I was in an opportunity through a hockey parent actually who owned a surveillance company came about, and I started working PI work. Really cool. But then looking down the road, there's probably a ceiling when it comes to that. A job came. For years and years, I started talking with a gentleman by the name of Brandon Naurato. He's actually the head coach at the University of Michigan. He was running and started the Detroit division of Total Package Hockey. It's TPH Detroit. And that's where I work now.
And they've got one in Grand Rapids. There's 3 in Michigan, I believe.
Two. One in Grand Rapids, one here, and we're in Bloomfield Hills, but it's the Detroit division, and we have 20 academies across the country. So Brandon had saw me on, and we started talking, and it took actually a couple years before I actually started working there. And when it actually, happened. But, once that happened, it's funny, years later, I thank Brandon for that opportunity I had with TPH. I'm still there today, and I've built a good career there. So I've never thanked him, but I guess I'm doing that now. He's worked for the Wings. He's working in pro hockey. He's now his dream. Same times we had these talks with the coach at the University of Michigan. He played there. He's the head coach there, doing great things. So
Nice.
it's cool to see guys, have goals and reach them. And for me to be able to get into hockey, I was coaching Hartland. You know me, just like the young 14 to 16-year-old kid telling you, well, hockey's my number one. Same thing as an adult.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to get into work in the game, and it was a no-brainer for me.
You're pretty close with your dad, Rick?
Yes. Yeah.
He's just a funny guy. You talk about mellow. That's where Calvin gets it. I see him at stuff. Even we're watching you play your first state championship game. I'm talking to him, and he's just that cool guy that just relaxed. He doesn't get overly. I know how my personality is.
Right. Mine too.
He's like, I mean.
I love that you say that. You do this. And it's funny. I do this with my teams for years and years. We talk about cool, calm, collected, but not letting your highs get too high and your lows get too low. You score a big goal in a big game, well, you're up, right? But we have to harness that, get it back down to this even keel if we're gonna proceed and have success. Well, my old man, and it's funny, you're bringing stuff up. We don't talk about a lot. Like, not just me and my dad, just saying maybe Gadwas in general. We talk a lot to other people, but I don't sit down and have these deep conversations, very often. Talk about a thing you mentioned that I take with me and what I do at work and what I do in coaching. It's that, and I always appreciated him for being the hockey dad that never created drama, never made it about him, never made an issue for me. He just watched, he learned, little subtle comments on a car ride home, but he never made a problem for me. He made it very comfortable for me to excel in the game. And a lot of that's because of his demeanor, like you talk about.
Yeah, I wish I could have been more like that. I would push the coach. I don't care if it's Friday night football. I'm going to call him on Friday night and talk to him about the game.
Right.
It's just you're either this way or you're this way, and I almost would say, hey, I got some regrets from doing that in Hartland, but I just thought there wasn't a winning mentality when we first got over there. We came from Brighton, the Finnertys, and the people that knew how to win. I'd be sitting in the stands at Jeremy's freshman year in football, and we get down one touchdown. And all of a sudden, I hear all the parents, oh, we're going to lose. I said, shut up. I said, relax. They're not going to lose. You're convincing all these kids are going to lose. Don't go sit somewhere else. It was like, let's go.
Ron, I'm a firm believer in you just said maybe you never doubt yourself in the way you coached, because what was number one for you? Give me a word. I'm putting you on the spot. But what was it? Passion, competitive,
winning. Yeah, my dad was that. So it was all those things. It was the passion too.
Well, that's what
love of the game.
There you go. And honestly, I coached now 13 years in high school hockey, and it's different now than it was even when I started, and it's different when I started than when it was 10 years before that. Things change and different things happen, but I am a firm believer in don't doubt who you are. The way you were really is infectious to a lot of kids, and that winning culture, that compete is so important. It's a huge part of what I am as a coach and what I preach. Like, I don't care. Let's not be the people that sit here and say it's okay to lose. I'm sorry. Yeah. I know maybe I shouldn't be saying that.
Get a participation trophy?
Yeah.
What?
We'll learn from losses, but like if you're not striving to win, and if it's not something you're passionate about, I don't believe in that. And I think a lot of our success and different things even we've done with our teams strives from that. So don't ever doubt that, because I think that stuff's special. I really do. I don't think there's enough of it now. I think we need to get more back to that. There's nothing wrong with being competitive.
Yeah. If your heart's in the right place, we're on the same team. If you're the coach and I want to talk to you about something, just respect that. Especially there were a lot of really young coaches back over there. They had 20-some-year-olds coaching varsity football. And to me, it was huge egos. They were huge egos. I remember talking to him at one time. I said, hey, my son's scoring too many touchdowns. give the ball to some of the other kids. And I was wrong about that too. It was like, what the hell?
They want to just drop the hammer, huh?
I don't know. But we've got 3 sponsors. The Clark Lake Golf Course, my buddy's 65 years old, Mike McHugh, bought it. And he's put hundreds of thousands of dollars in there. And Peter Dante's going out there in a couple weeks. John Daly's going to be there the Wednesday before. And Darren McCarty is going to be there with Peter Dante.
That sounds like a good time.
That's in August. Yeah. Dr. Timothy Kaczynski, the dentist for the Red Wings, he can fix up any, put some implants in wherever you might.
I'm going to have to give him a call.
12 in my mouth.
Really?
Yeah.
No hockey pucks, though.
I got hit with a baseball mask. Remember the steel mask?
Oh,
that was my black tooth.
Really?
That my buddies wanted to draw pictures of.
I didn't realize that came from.
Yeah, that's how it happened, like in 8th grade. Yeah, and I had it through high school. We had no money,
Yeah.
And the other one, Tim Kaczynski, is just great. He does all these Red Wings. He does the Catholic Central Priests. And we were just talking, Mickey Redmond, his close buddies with. And Mamma Mia's Pizza at Grand River and Beach, as Darren McCarty says, the greatest around.
I got to check that out, too. I haven't been there.
It's worth the ride. It's a real pizzeria. I used to make pizzas there in high school. It was close to St. Agatha.
Nice.
So AI, I had this thing, technology's getting out of control. How do you try to balance cell phones, iPads, laptops, all this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? This stuff that's in these kids' head. How do you get through that as a coach?
Well, first of all, not a player walks into our locker room. Granted, I'm sure it's snuck, they sneak them in there at times, but we have a nest, basically. I mean, ironic to the Eagles. We throw our phones, outside the locker room before you walk in, and we always make the joke, it's our time to geek out on hockey. But yeah, let's remove ourselves from the technology piece. The issue is, it's such a big part of today's world, and really it is. I can't call it one of my strengths either, but there's positives to social media, laptops, or I'm sorry, the iPads, the video we can capture, things we can use. I'll use an example. Video alone, video review, almost non-existent, because when I was playing, it would have had to been camcorder, VHS, converter, like whatever it may be, just to get film. Well, now we can have an iPad on a bench, film, and then in between periods, we could pull it right up and
And that's legal? They can do that?
Talk about a teaching tool, and like kids are seeing it, right? Man, if I had that when we played, and we just play around with that and have fun with it. I have a program at Hartland we use that breaks down our game film for us. So instead of you turning the tape on and grabbing your notepad and to clip, and put times down at different things, they clip it for you. You can find different things right away. That's where the technology is awesome, let's say, just with coaching. But yeah, I mean, we need to, there's a time when we got to put it all away and
just play
and go to work and play.
Well, Darren McCarty, you can read that, and you can go ahead and read it out loud, see what you think. This is from a guy who won 4 Stanley Cups.
Okay. Loved having Darren McCarty on the show. All right. Spoke to the man in the man in the mirror. There's a poem on that.
Yeah.
Do you know that? I forget who wrote it.
I don't know if I
that's
saw
funny.
that.
We'll have to look at that.
Yeah, definitely. But I understood what he was getting at. And the last part I thought was really cool.
He said none of his 4 Stanley Cups happen until each player cares more about the teammate next to them, the team.
Yeah.
Well, there was a guy at Michigan that was all about the team. Was there not?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Pretty impactful. And Darren McCarty gets it. He lived it. He breathed it.
Mm-hmm.
They succeeded. And you are spot on. And can I tell you what? In just little high school hockey world, my teams that don't do that don't become a team, are the ones that fail.
Yeah.
And even this past year, and it's not a failure. We learn from everything, but we fall short. I think I'm a firm believer in a lot of that is because you're not able you have to become one. Darren McCarty's spot on. I'd like to actually.
You can take
I'd
that.
love to, that's
would
great.
You'd like to meet him?
Yeah.
Or have you?
Darren McCarty won't remember this,
Uh-huh.
but I met him in a bathroom of a restaurant / establishment in Grand Rapids when I was in college.
Oh.
And he was on his comeback. He was actually skating with the Grand Rapids Griffins at that time. I don't know if you remember his whole story.
Well, he had kind of the Bob Probert things going on. I do know that.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
Darren McCarty battled a ton, but he's another great story, and he's overcome a lot.
He's got it tattooed on his wrist. Now, what's really cool is really was strange to be able to speak to this. A year ago at Memorial Day, which was just came and went, I just got a 1-year coin. And these coins you get at AA, and I go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 23 in Grand River.
So
here.
it's been one straight year
It's
for you.
been a year.
Ron, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Congrats.
it was 428. What is this? 6'6", 6'7"?
Yeah, we're in June.
Yeah, so I mean
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of coins that you get, and there's a couple missing there, but it's not that I wasn't there for them. I just don't know where they're at. But yeah, I got a 1 year the other day, and it's amazing how much better life became for me. There was too much Jack Daniels. There was too much stuff that wasn't good, and it's great.
And so you live it too, and listen to what you're saying. That's awesome. You had to overcome something, and obviously you won't get into detail all the depths
I don't
of
mind.
it. Well, the depths of it all, I can only imagine because we haven't sat down and had these talks, but some of the things you've had to battle, and it's really hard. It's really hard to overcome anything like that. And we talk about Darren McCarty, and he had to do it with certain things, and you're talking about this. I think it's the hardest thing in the world to do, and the fact that you're sitting here smiling and saying it's great, and look at the spot you're in. It's just inspirational for anyone that's struggling with anything.
Yeah, I guarantee, promise you this would not be happening. You'd be doing whatever Rick Gadwa does every Friday afternoon, and Ron Jess would be preparing to do what I was doing, and it wasn't good. And so, yeah, it is cool, and to be able to do good stuff makes it even better.
Well, you should be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
I hope you are.
Yeah. So, wish all the best to Seabrook Satterlin. We had him on here. He's a great friend. He's being treated in Mayo Clinic. We're talking about a lot of cancer again. He skates with the Red Wing alumni and Seabrook Satterlin. He was on a show.
Yeah.
He's a Division I hockey
I remember
player.
seeing that, and I started.
Yeah.
I searched. I'm like, hey, where did he play again? The name sounded familiar, and yeah, he played some good hockey in his day for sure.
He did. He's just a character, So your daughter has a handicap. We're talking on some tough subjects, but
That's okay. Yeah.
And you have an older son as well.
Yeah.
And does he play hockey for you?
So no, he actually graduated from. We just went to commencement the other day. He graduated from Northville High School.
Oh.
He's a goaltender. He played there.
Did you play against him?
We did.
How'd that go?
Well, we won. But
Oh.
we talk about the competitive thing, and
Yeah.
and
He wasn't happy.
well, even with my youngest daughter, if we're playing checkers, Ron, I'm trying to win.
Yeah.
That's me joking. But
No, it's the way it is.
Grant's competitive. He played for Northville. Northville's got a great hockey coach, newer. He's only been there a couple years, and he's really, Northville's had great programs in the past, and then dips like anything. You go up and down, and he's really putting that program, on the map. And so Grant played there. He was at Hartland. This year, his senior year, he was at Northville. He was with his, he stayed with his mother and stepfather. He's doing cool things. He's going to go to Schoolcraft College. He's getting into the culinary program. Yeah, a little bit, interesting stuff for sure, and definitely excited for him. And then you mentioned, my youngest daughter, Kinsley. Yeah, she has the rarest in the world genetic disorder called Cohen syndrome, and it affects a ton of things. It kind of runs in line with cerebral palsy, and you know, different things. Like, I mean, there's a point where we don't know, you know, we didn't know if she's even going to walk. And, you know, now she's up on her feet. She's walking. She's 6. Like,
She's 6?
yes. And she is, you know, she doesn't look 6. She looks a lot younger than that. And she's, you know, developmentally delayed, you know, physically and mentally in numerous ways. But I always say this, and, you know, people's first reaction when you start talking about stuff like this, a lot of times they're like, oh no, I feel, you know, so bad. And I'm like, look at it. You know, I always think about this. I don't say it enough, but look at the smile on her face. It's not, oh no, for her. She lives a great life. She struggles with things, but she battles and she's overcoming it. And she's got great supports in her life. She's got great family. She's got a great mom, great dad, great supporting figures, great, you know, call him, you know, your dad, my partner too, and Vanessa, and just, and great supports around her, and she's happy, and that's what's important, right? And she's overcoming obstacles in her life, just like we all do, and she's doing a great job. So
that's good.
Yeah, it's a unique, you know, it's a real, it's a rare genetic disorder. No one even when you go in, you're in the hospital, and, you know, and you're talking to a nurse, that a lot of them don't know what it is. So you really have to research it. When I first came about and we started researching it, there was, I believe it was maybe 1,000 cases worldwide.
Jeez.
Been diagnosed. It's about as rare as it can get. So pretty.
That's tough. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, like you said, you look for the smile on the face and the hitting the goals, whatever the goals are that are set.
Right.
Now, what about Sean Belizian? He seems like a great guy. You turned me on. He was willing to help. He said any way he can, he would help. He was on WJR, WDFN, The Fan.
Well, here's where we'll call him out then.
Yeah.
Because he said he's willing to help.
Yeah.
So I'm asking you, is he going to be on your show?
Oh, we've got him scheduled. He's here in the end of June.
Really?
No, he is, yeah. He said he'd do anything. He said anything we needed help on, he'd help.
He's always the one behind the microphone telling you how great everybody else is. And not very often does he get to hear it about himself. Ron, he is awesome. He's going to be a great guest for you to have. He's a great voice, but more than that, like, he's so knowledgeable. And he, honestly, him, you know, there's another one, John Kidd, and they work for state champs of Michigan, and they do a lot of coverage with, you know, high school sports. On the high school hockey side of things, Sean Belizian has been unbelievable the last handful of years of really getting, you know, the beauty of high school hockey in Michigan out to the masses.
Nice.
and being able to spread the word and promote it. Now he's doing his own stuff. He's got his own podcast. You know, he's got this What the Puck.
He runs around in this Toronto thing, and he loves
the
Montreal.
Canadians. He's a Canadian fan.
But we've got Mickey Redmond's coming up. He's going to come on here pretty soon, and Mickey and his partner just won the #1 broadcaster in NHL. So that's pretty good. We've been lucky. So many of our guests, from Jeff Wiska from Catholic Central, the NFL, through Michigan State, Mama Shoe. I've got an article, but if you look at Detroit News Today, June 7th, Michiganians at 2024, the top 10 of the year. Look, there's Mama Shoe.
Wow.
She's always, we had her on the day before Thanksgiving, and turns tragedy to triumph. 2 of her kids were killed, one shot right in front of her. Amazing.
Man.
But Mel Farr Jr., but the one I wanted to mention, we're kind of wrapping up here, Rick, but June 11th is Tiger great, World Series champion catcher Lance Parrish. His book is coming out, and it's The Enchanted Season. I didn't write it down. I happen to remember. It's called The Enchanted Season. I don't know how I remember that. So you're still young, and you're going to hang your skates up at one point. What do you want people to say about Ricky Gadwa?
I don't know.
Go ahead. Just
people, they'll probably roll their eyes. Like
No.
I don't like talking about me. I love what I'm able to do in the sense of coaching and working in the game of hockey and all that. But yeah, talking about me is always a tough one.
Yeah.
I just
Understood.
it's hard. I'm passionate, Ron, and I'd like if there's one word, I guess that's it. Just I put anything and everything into what I do, whether it's my career or whether it's coaching Hartland High School or whether it's
being a dad,
and being a good partner and all that stuff. So we have our obstacles and but yeah, I don't know, just people think of me as someone that just can put all of it into it. I think that's pretty special. So.
All right, Rick. Here's the fun part: is the Jess GD pickles, and we always have to make clear that means garlic dill. And go ahead and open them up, and you got to rate it 1 to 10, Rick.
So we're doing a pickle review, kind
Yes,
of like
we are.
Portnoy and Barstool does the pizza reviews.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
It's a 1 to 10 scale.
1 to 10, 10 being the best.
The best pickle I've ever had in my life.
If it is, it'd be a 10.
Okay.
It's possible. I'm going to have one too.
Oh my. Let's start crunch.
Mm-hmm.
And these are, you said they're that, I mean, they're
Garlic
that
dill.
old, but they're that old. It's July of 2023.
Almost a year.
Good crunch.
Mm-hmm.
That the taste initially is great and you get the garlic, but it's not too much.
Mm-hmm.
And then the end, what is that? It's like, I don't know how to explain it.
I
Is it
tell
sweet? Like,
It's love.
it's love?
Love and passion.
It's great.
No, we've been doing them for 20 years. We give them all away. We don't keep any.
So I get to keep this jar. Oh, that's excellent. That's great. I'm going to rate it. I'll give it a 10.
Oh, get out of
What
here.
are your other ratings?
I got it. The last guy on was 10, but thank you.
Yeah, they're really good.
I
Those are really
love
good.
you, buddy.
You too.
Yeah.
It's great talking to you.
You too. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. That's cool. These are good. I'm having another one.